first half we've covered speaking skills. We looked at fluency and accuracy, and in the second half, the first half we also looked at writing skills and understood a little bit about scaffolding and the andamiaje. I'm not sure if educationists in Spanish actually call it that, but remember it's a metaphor for the way that we provide support for learners as they're developing a skill. And the idea is it's social. It involves another person helping them to raise their skills, whether it's in language, but it could be, it's the same theory applies in the teaching of different topics or materias like mathematics and so on. Okay, so what we'll look at in the second half is teaching grammar for younger learners, and then we'll do another bit of work on stories to finish off, as it's more fun. Okay, so teaching grammar to younger learners. Okay, we're going to do a little sort of demonstration, a mini demonstration lesson. Okay. We're going to watch a short video, and I want you to try and answer these questions. Who is Meg? Who is Mog? And where are they going? All right, so you've got to just figure out, is Meg the cat or the witch? Is Mog the cat or the witch? Right? Witch is like bruja. And where are they going? What is their plan for the night? Okay, so this is just like a gist activity. But this is something that you could use. These Meg and Mog stories, you could use them to, going back to what we looked at previously, you can use them to contextualize language work. So here's the video. It's quite short.
What is it?
It's midnight, Meg. Time for the witch's spell party.
Now, let's see. I need my black stockings, my big black shoes, my long black cloak, and my tall black hat. There! Ready. Right, I'll just cook some breakfast. Ah! Oh, I'm sorry, Mog. I didn't see you.
Did someone say breakfast?
3 eggs. Bread. Cocoa. Some jam. Milk. And
Okay, we don't really need to go on that. And okay, so let's try and answer those questions. Simple enough, weren't they? Who is Meg?
The witch.
The witch. Who is Mog?
The cat.
The cat. Where are they going?
Go outside until midnight.
No, but what event are they going to? Are they going to a meeting or a party?
A party.
Party. Yeah. Oh, and what do witches do?
Dress it.
Yeah, but they...
Make up breakfast.
Yeah. Have you heard of this word spells? Yeah, it's not like a spelling as what we were doing earlier, but spells are like magical enchantments. Yeah, so that's what witches do, right? They make spells, right? So they're going to a witches spells party. I guess they're all going to make spells together. Yeah, that's what witches do, don't they? Yeah, and so until the Spanish Inquisition burned a lot of them. Now, we're going to watch again, but this time I want you to focus a little bit on some of the language here. Okay, I'm going to give you a slide each, a Google Jamboard. And as you watch the video again, I'd like you to put some of these sentences, well, not sentences, but phrases, right? You've got to put them in the right order. Okay? To do that, you need to watch again, and you'll see in the video that all of these are used in the video. So you've got to use the stickies, and you move them into the right order, right? According to what you see in the video. So here is the into the chat is the link. So you go in there. Paula, you are number 1, and Christian, you are number 2. Slide 2. Can you please confirm you have access?
I got it, Andrew.
Got it? Right. Okay, so let's play again.
What is it?
It's midnight, Meg. Time for the witch's spell party.
Now, let's see. I need my black stockings, my big black shoes, my long black cloak, and my tall black hat. There! Ready.
Okay. Were you able to put them in the right order? Okay, here's a clue. They're all the same. They should all be the same color. Yeah. That was deliberate to help you a little bit. Ah, Christine, are you sure about the blue one? Think about where the color adjective goes.
It's going to first long black.
Ah, that's right. And what about the green ones? Uh-huh. Right. So just to confirm, all right, so now let's analyze these. I'd like you to work individually and try and answer the questions. You can put the answers directly after the questions on the stickies. So which words are adjectives? Which words are nouns? Where do adjectives go in English? Where do adjectives for color go, and where do adjectives for size go? So I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about the answers to those. Right, you can write them directly onto the sticky notes here. On the same sticky notes, or you can use a different sticky note if you prefer. So first, start with this one. Which words are adjectives? Then this. And think about the final question. Where do they go in Spanish? Yeah, but Paolo, can you tell me, can you write which words are the adjectives here? So cloak, is that an adjective? And which words are nouns? Black, is that an adjective? Is that a noun? Paolo?
Yes, I am doing that.
Yeah, so let's check our answers then. Yeah. And Christian was right. Adjectives were big, long, tall, and also black. Because that's an adjective. It's an adjective color, isn't it? For the nouns, yeah, we've got stockings, shoes, cloak, and hat. So adjectives, yes, go before the noun, don't they? Yeah. Adjectives for color, they also go right before the noun. Yeah, adjectives for size go before color. So it's size, color, and noun. What about these words? What do we call these? They're not mentioned here, but they're possessive pronouns, aren't they? All right. So you've got a possessive pronoun, then the adjective for size, and then color, and then the noun. What is the situation in Spanish? Sometimes it can be useful to ask the students that, makes them think harder. Stockings. What would you, black stockings? What would we say? Punctimanias? No, that's not the word, is it? What are stockings?
Calcetines.
Calcetines. Okay, so is it the color before or after the noun?
In Spanish, you said?
Yeah.
First the noun and after the adjective.
Okay. What about the second one? Her big black shoes. Christian, can you translate that for us?
Okay. In Spanish, we say sus zapatos negros grandes.
Uh-huh. What about long black cloak? Paolo, could you translate that?
La capa negra grande. Su capa negra.
Okay. So then it's noun, color, and then size. What about the tall black hat? Christian, can you translate that?
Su sombrero negro alto.
Okay, so it's color and then size, isn't it? After the noun. That's interesting. Yeah. So this is a good way of making students aware of the differences, yeah, because sometimes they're not explicitly aware, made explicitly aware of these differences. And by asking the questions, and we can clarify. So it's can you remember that approach to grammar teaching that we looked at in the IHC adult course? And what was it called? It began with G and it's the initials were GD.
Discovery guide. The guide discovery.
GD. Yeah, guided discovery. So it's the same principles, right, of as guided discovery that we can apply to young learner teaching, and it can be very effective, right? Because generally children like to try and find out, discover. So let's read a little bit about the theory of this from, it's the same book, Primary English Teacher's Guide. I'd like you to read the article, and I'll give you about 90 seconds, 2 minutes to read it quickly. It's just, okay. And no, I'll give you 2 full minutes. What are the benefits of discovery grammar? Is it that students develop their cognitive or thinking abilities? Is it that the teacher spends more time explaining the rules of use and form? Is it that the activities arouse or awaken the student's inquisitiveness about language? So here is the here comes. So you've got to decide which statement does not apply to the text. All right. Based on the text you read, which does not apply? So 2 apply, but 1 doesn't. A couple of minutes to read that.
Pero pues me quisiera contar la charla de cómo era si fuera esto como cuando tú eras joven, no me pidas diarios mercados, estoy en rollo diario al súper a buscar nuestro amigo de que es lo que va faltando y traer bolillas, frijoles y todo eso en un momento de coser, además de clave y chocolate con huevo, con harina, y un poco de fruta. Bueno, pues así casi estoy teniendo que ir a comprar cosas para que coman. Pues yo sobre todo no tengo que preocupar que coman. Entonces acabó el huevo, o sea, si el último huevo que había, y son los panecillos, una me va a tener que dar licuado sin huevo mayor, pero sí, no, porque me viene mismo en la tarde de hoy. Y pues ahorita ya he logrado que posee algunas mañanas desayuno hasta 2 huevos y la he licuado, y aparte le he estado haciendo huevo con papas, huevo con jamón, luego pues le dicen galletas, pero sí ya me como inventando así que más para que coman. Y pues bueno, estoy optimista porque sí logro que está comiendo más en las 3 comidas. De varias veces ya he dicho, no sé si yo estoy planteando, pero otra cosa que noté hoy, que lo comenté con mi ya también lo veo con más energía, más, ya no estoy echado en la cama oscura que vive así, muy cansada de televisión posible. Pues ya 5 minutos me dije, sí, yo ya ves como que tenía razón, que te sientes muy cansado por falta de comida.
Okay, when you're ready, press submit.
Y muchas veces me dicen, ponte ahorita si quieres para acostarme un rato, que duermes una siesta, pero come primero.
Yeah, basically you're right. It's that students develop their cognitive abilities and they arouse their inquisitiveness about the language. It's not that the teacher spends more time explaining the rules of use and form. In fact, that's the whole purpose of guided discovery, is that the teacher is not going to be explaining so much. Why? Well, very often explanations, the students don't understand them anyway, right? Especially with the younger learners. Yeah. Especially if if the teachers are using English, especially, the students are just not going to get it. So the idea is that we try to ask questions that they can understand, even in Spanish, that make them think about the rules of use of the language, use and form. So that is the basic idea between guided discovery for younger learners. Having seen it applied earlier with adults. So they mention that the learners are required to discuss, make comparisons and hypotheses. This develops their thinking capacity, curiosity about language, and builds up their confidence. Okay. Here are some examples. Inductive. So students are given these examples and asked to work out the difference between for and since. Christian, could you read number 1 for us, please?
I have been here since 6 o'clock.
Okay, great. Number 2.
Tom and Anna have been married for 6 years.
Paula, could you read number 3?
It hasn't rained since last September.
And number 4?
I've been waiting for nearly an hour.
So the last one, we last met at a conference, but I haven't seen her since then. Okay, so look at these examples then. Can you tell me what is the difference between for and since? How do we use for and how do we use since?
Y de hecho, me gusta usted. Luego, tu simple cambio de cuerpo, en el pasado de un niño adolescente es otro niño. Y eso es que tomarse un niño que niño. De niño pues un adolescente.
For is for to explain a period of time, no?
Ah.
Y todo eso.
Yeah.
Ya no sé. Y que cambiar la voz.
Yeah, like 6 years or for nearly an hour. So it's like length or duration, isn't it? Yeah. But what about since? Oops.
Since when we want to say a specific time.
Yeah, it is. It's like a point in time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you consider time as like a line from past to present to future, since is like a point on the line, right? Whereas for is like a duration. A duration of time. Yeah, and you could use a timeline to represent that. Good. And then we've got deductive approaches. So, Paola, could you read deductive for us, please?
The for or what?
Yeah, deductive.
Deductive. The past tense of regular verbs is formed by adding "ed" to the base form of the verb. So walk, walked, start, started, clean, cleaned. Oh, can you turn these verbs into the past? Clean, cleaned, or would work. That's it.
Okay, so work, worked, yeah. So, what's the difference then between these two approaches? You notice here, where does the rule come in? Is it the beginning or the end? And in the inductive, where does the rule, where do we find out what the rule is? Do we immediately, in the inductive, do we immediately give them the rule for the use of for and since? Yes or no? Do we give them the rule in the inductive? Or immediately? La regla. When do we give them the rule? Because this is the key difference, isn't it? Christian, when do we give them the rule in the inductive approach?
In the middle.
Well, kind of, because, I mean, first of all, we give them the examples, right? And then they try and work out what the rule is, right? And then we elicit from the students, okay, what is the rule? Right? And sometimes they can express the rule, or sometimes we can give them like something to tick. Okay, which is true about for or since? For is about a point in time, or for is a duration in time, yeah? So actually it's with this we've got examples first. And then they work out the rule themselves, don't they? Or try to. Now, if they can't work out the rule, we can give them clues. We can guide them. Now, the deductive is more of a traditional approach, isn't it? Because you give them the rule. Here's the rule. We explain the rule. Okay, now apply it to examples. Now, some students might prefer a deductive approach, possibly adults who are used to this more traditional learning style, yeah? But the advantage of inductive is it pushes the students to think about, use their cognitive abilities. They're thinking harder, so hopefully they'll remember it better. It's more memorable. That's the idea, yeah? Does that make sense?
Okay. Andrew, deductive, you always start with the order. So it's a traditional way to...
Yeah.
Okay. And inductive, you guide the student discover the rule.
Yeah, but you need examples first, don't you? Or some context, right? For them to try and figure out what the rule is. Yeah.
Okay.
Notice we've got two types of language items here, since and for. So they're comparing them together. What's the difference?
Okay.
Obviously, some types of language lend themselves better to deductive than inductive, actually. So things like the rules of article use in English, it's probably better to use a deductive approach. Yeah, because there are lots of rules for the use of, for example, the definite article in English. Lots of rules, so it's kind of difficult for them to work out the rules from examples. So you can give them the rules and they apply it. So it's not always as simple as saying, well, younger learners prefer to use inductive. Sometimes there are language points that we need to use deductive for. So bear that in mind as well. Okay, now let's look at some different approaches for different frameworks for teaching grammar that you may not have seen before. Now, in your TP2 with the young learners, you're going to use a different framework, and it's called test, teach, test. Now previously in your IHC course, you've looked at PPP, right? Can you remember what PPP stands for? Prayer, Presentation. What's the other P? Paula, Christian?
Production.
That's the last one, isn't it? What's the middle one? What's the middle P?
Practice, no?
Practice, yeah?
Presentation, practice, and production.
Yeah. And you've seen a different version of that called text-based, right? Which is where we use a text in the presentation, right? Maybe a reading or audio to provide context. Now, test, teach, test is somewhat different. Where do you think the presentation, the language presentation part comes? Remember, there's in the PPP, there's a stage where you've got the meaning, form, and the presentation. You focus on that. Where do you think that comes in the test, teach, test? The M, F, and P. Do you think it comes in the test stage? The language presentation part? Or do you think it comes in the middle? Okay, well, I'll tell you that it's unusual. It comes in the middle. Yeah. So there's we do a little test to see how good the students are with the language. Then we do some teaching where we focus on the meaning, the form, and the pronunciation, and then we test again to see if they've learned it. So that's the framework that you will use in your Young Learners TP2. So it's a new framework for you to experiment with. And it can be quite useful for testing and teaching younger learners. And in the test, the first test, we usually have a controlled practice activity that gets them to focus on the meaning and form. Then there's the teaching in the middle, and then another controlled practice activity for test 2. And if there's time, maybe a little bit of freer practice. Okay. But don't worry, you'll be given assistance with that closer to when you have to do your TP, teaching practice. Now, it's an opportunity to try a different framework. So, I'd like you to try and put these stages of the framework in order. Okay, you've got it's on a, you can move these boxes to try and put them in the right order. Okay, what do you think comes first with the text-based approach?
Letter F.
But don't you remember that with a text-based approach, there's usually like a lead in, and then they read or listen to a text, right? Because the text provides the context, right? So it's got to be this one first. So read or listen to a text, then they answer comprehension questions about information in the text. Then the teacher sets a task that allows the learners to discover one or two examples of the target language in the text without necessarily saying what the grammar point is, writing an example on the board. Teacher checks the meaning by asking concept checking questions. Then there's the form, highlighting the form of the target language, and then they do control practice to check their understanding of the form and the meaning. Okay. So I'd like you to do the same with the TTT. I want you to put them in the right order. Okay, so here it comes. I'm going to share with you the slide. It's on slide 3. Please click on. Oops, sorry about that. Here it is. It's not as easy to operate as a Jamboard, but you can still move them around. So it's number 3, page 3 that you've got to use. Okay, so what do you think the order is? What goes first? The TTT. Remember, there needs to be a test first. So logically, what would go first?
B.
No.
No?
No, because it said that says redo the original task. So it's not going to be first. That's not going to be first. What goes first?
F.
Have a guess. Yeah, F. Right. So the first one is F. Learners do an oral or written practice task that encourages the use of the target language the teacher wants to focus on. So that gives the teacher an idea of how well they can use the target language, right? So it could be something like for and since, right? How well do they use it? What comes next?
Letter D.
Yeah, that logically that makes sense. So you're listening or observing if it's a written test. So then he notices if there are any errors. Perhaps again using for and since. They're not using it. They're not using since with points in time. They're using it for duration. So then, what follows? There's some teaching, right? Yeah. So there needs to be a teaching part. So they might write up the errors on the board. Elicit corrections. Hmm?
E.
Okay, what usually comes before we work on the form? Is it pronunciation or meaning? Before we work on form of language, is it meaning or pronunciation? Come on, guys, you should know this by now. MFP.
For.
No. What comes before form when we're doing a language presentation?
Meaning.
Meaning. Right. So then it would be C, right? Concept checking questions you use for meaning, to check the meaning of the correct language. Then you have the form of the language. Yeah, I mean, sometimes we can put pronunciation before form, but meaning needs to come first, right? It's basic, right? Basic procedure for teaching language, whether it's grammar or vocabulary. Meaning needs to precede form or pronunciation. All right, and then B. Then you have another test. Sorry. Teacher asks students to redo the original task or a similar task that also encourages the use of the target language. So that's the procedure for when you do young learner teaching practice 2. Now, can you help me to complete the missing words in this? This is like a summary of the different approaches. So on the left, we've got the name of the approach, so text-based or test, teach, test. What are the ways of providing a context? What are the ways of highlighting target language? And how do we check the form? On the meaning of the form. You can write the answers directly onto the slide. Give it to you again. If you're not sure, just guess. I'll check the answers shortly. Good job so far. Examples, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So here are the answers. So context for text-based is a reading or listening text. We can underline examples or highlight examples of the target language in the reading or listening. Sometimes that means highlighting the language in the audio script if it's a listening. The key thing with the way of providing context is that for the test, teach, test is there's a sort of practice, because we want to see how well the students can use the language. So it can actually be oral or written, but there has to be some sort of practice. And the way we check meaning and form concept checking questions, and the board analysis of the form. Perhaps on the whiteboard. All right. That makes sense. But don't worry, before you have to teach a TTT lesson, you'll get to see one in practice demonstrated by one of your tutors. That's just a kind of a soft introduction. So how are we doing? Okay, well, we've only got one thing more to do tonight, and that is some more on storytelling. Storytelling 2. Huh? Comes. All right, so the purpose of this final session tonight is to evaluate and practice a variety of storytelling activities that you will be able to use with your own classes. And we'll discuss the value of TPR in storytelling and practice and discuss maybe one or two activities, TPR activities that you can do with your students. So I'm going to give you an activity. And I'd like you to try to spend some time and prepare to demonstrate it with your group or in front of the three of us. After each demonstration, we'll discuss our answers to these questions. Who is doing the storytelling in this activity and who is doing the story writing? Which learning styles does it suit? Visual, auditory, or kinesthetic? Could you adapt the activity and use a different story? And what age group do you think this activity is suitable for? Okay, I think it's only fair that I give you a choice of activities. There it is. So it's actually in that email I sent you, but I'm going to give it to you again. There you go. Okay, so I'd like you to read through. There are 4 to choose from. So, multi-voice storytelling. There's sharing personal life stories. There's interrupting the storyteller. And there is story dominoes. So, Paula. Are there any of these that you would like to demonstrate for us? Are you there, Paula?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know. I am thinking.
Why don't we read through them first, and that might help you to decide, okay? So, multi-voice storytelling. Note, when preparing to share this activity, think of a short story that you can tell, different from the example here. Make some notes if you need to. A technique I really enjoy is telling a story with the help of the listeners. Let me show you how this goes. I ask a group of learners to sit either side of me and a bit back from me. All three of us facing the class group. I then start telling the story like this. This story is about 3 people who lived in a village in Vietnam. It was a small village and it had a big river. I simply don't remember what the river was like and where it ran. So then the storyteller turns to one of the helpers. Do you have a better memory than me? Can you describe it? Both helpers have a view at positioning the river in the village. I then carry on telling the story. 5 or 6 times I stop and get the helpers to enrich the telling with their descriptions. I am careful to retain the plot in my own hands until they're very near the end. Then I ask all the students to write down the ending that they imagine. They read their endings to each other, and I will finally also give them my ending. Told in this way, the story belongs much more securely to the group than if I tell a tale on my own. Okay, so that's the source then. Okay, maybe a little bit tricky to do tonight without preparation. So, Christine, could you continue on to number 2?
Sharing personal life stories. Get the students to divide a sheet of paper into 4 boxes and then get them to draw pictures about one of the following or similar topics. My life story, my family story, what I did on my last holiday. The students then tell each other their story based on the pictures they have drawn. And this works well if you model this on the board by drawing your pictures and telling your story first.
I think this is something we could do. Yeah? Online tonight, because it doesn't require so much preparation. Paula, could you read number 3?
Interrupting the storyteller. Prepare a story and one that would not normally take more than 3 or 4 minutes to tell. Explain to the students that you are going to tell them a story and that their job is stopped by you by asking millions of questions about the story. You must answer all the questions, however, quickly and rudely. Your task is to try and get to the end of your storytelling. Students love this activity because for once they are allowed to interrupt the teacher and he or she isn't allowed to get angry.
Okay, so I think that's a possibility because all you need is a story, right? A short story, and I'm sure you could think of one. All right, and then number 4, story dominoes. Okay. Okay, let's change the words teachers to students. All right, students will work alone. Ask, because I think I originally used this with teachers. Ask each student to make a 6 small pieces of paper, or alternatively, it could be on a Jamboard with 6 stickies. Dictate 6 of the words in the box below to student A. He should listen and write 1 word per piece of paper. Dictate the next six of the words to student B, and 6 to student C. Teachers then have to tell a story using students. Then have to tell a story using as many words as they can. Student A puts down a card and starts the story. Then student B puts down one of their cards and continues the story until all the students have used their cards and the story is complete. If we had more participants than students, would retell their story to another group and listen to other group stories. You can easily make up your own story dominoes on other topics such as science fiction, urban life, football, Harry Potter, and so on. So these are words for a fantasy story. Yeah, like something like Shrek. Dark Forest Princess, Castle, Sword, Wizard. Okay, so if you had to choose one of these, which would you choose, Christian?
I would choose sharing personal life stories.
I think that's a good choice, yeah, because it doesn't require too much preparation tonight. Okay. However, I'm going to give you some time a few minutes to think about what instructions you're going to give to Paula, okay? Because Paula's going to be your student. Okay, Paula?
Yeah, sure.
How about you try interrupting the storyteller?
Okay.
Yeah. So also you need to, for this, you need to try and find a story to tell. Okay?
Yes.
So that's your preparation.
Okay.
Okay, so shall I give you about 8 to 10 minutes? Is that enough? Maybe less? So you need to study the instructions and figure out what resources you need to do this. Okay, so I'll give you, I'll start with 10 minutes and I'll check with you in after 5 minutes to see how you're doing. Okay, understood?
We only write the instructions.
You don't have
All
to write the
activities.
instructions. You can make. it's more a question of figuring out what resources you need to do it, right? And then preparing them. So if you need to use a Jamboard, then yeah, you get a Jamboard ready. Yeah.
Okay.
Or for yours, you could use a Google Doc with a table on it with 4 squares on it, because they need 4 boxes, don't they? Yeah. So I'll start the clock for the timing, but so just to illustrate, Christian.
Okay.
So Paula, who's your student, is going to need this resource. So maybe you could replicate what I'm doing. So I'm using a Google Doc. Insert, and I need a table with 4 boxes in it. Now, you tell her what topic she's going to tell a story about. Is it my life story, a family story, what I did on my last holiday? So you're going to then tell her to draw pictures about maybe her last holiday, right? But there needs to be 4 pictures. So she's then going to tell her story based on those pictures. Understand?
Yeah,
But you need to think. You don't have to write down the procedures, but you need to think about how you're going to, what instructions you're going to give your partner. All right. Paolo, for you, it's maybe a little bit easier in that you've just got to think of the story. So I'll check back with you in a few minutes. Ready to start? Give me the thumbs up when you're ready.
Thank you.
So we saw Christian's activity there. Who is doing the storytelling? And or who is doing the story writing?
Telling a story. Storytelling.
Who's telling the story? Who is telling the story? Is it the teacher or the student?
The teacher.
Well, obviously the teacher provides the model, right? The demonstration. But the idea is that the students tell the story, yeah?
Okay.
Using the pictures. Which learning styles does this suit? Is it visual, auditory, or kinesthetic?
Visual and auditory. In this case.
Why?
Because he showed me some pictures and he was talking about them.
Could you adapt the activity and use a different story?
Probably yes.
Yeah, I think you could use almost any kind of story that involves usually a beginning, a middle, and an end. Some sort of mishap or adventure could be good. What age group do you think it's for?
Like 10 or 11 years.
Why?
Because they need to know about verbs and places and have a sequence, logical sequence in the story.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So have an idea of a narrative sequence, right? Yeah, that there's usually a an orientation, a complication in the middle, and a resolution at the end often. Okay, good. Now I'm going to give you my story. Okay, but before we do, just a question here. And this is the last activity we'll do tonight. We should be able to finish in by 8:30. So, what does TPR stand for? What does the T stand for in TPR? I think you've encountered this a couple of times already, so maybe you've just forgotten. T for total.
Yeah. Total physical response.
Physical response, that's right. And second question, which learning style do you think TPR is particularly relevant to?
Kinesthetic.
Very good, yeah, because it involves movement, doesn't it? Now, so I'm going to tell you a story that involves the following characters. Okay. The woodcutter, the tiger, and the sage. The sage is like a wise or holy man. Right? And the story is from India. Now, as you listen to the story that I'm going to tell you, I want you to do the actions. So, Paula, could you switch on your camera so we can see you doing the actions? Okay, now if you are a woodcutter, if you hear the word woodcutter, what action are you going to do? Yes. With an axe. Now, if you hear the word tiger, what word are you going to do? What action are you going to do? Okay, so Christina, I want to see you going. And then if you hear the word sage, which action are you going to do? Yeah, something with your hands like that, or if you could levitate a bit as well, that would be good, or do some yoga. Yeah. All right, so the story is called The Wise Sage, and it's from India, southern India. Okay, so remember, if you hear the word, I want you to do the action. One day, a poor woodcutter. That's it. Yes. Let's see you move, Christian. One day, a poor woodcutter was walking down a narrow path in a forest. He was in search of dry wood. Suddenly, he heard a voice calling out his name. He was surprised and decided to find out who had called him. He walked to the side and saw a tiger in a cage. The tiger pleaded with him. Please, please get me out of this cage. I will do whatever you say. I will be your humble servant all my life. Arrgh. The kind-hearted woodcutter was moved by the tiger's request. He opened the door of the cage and freed the tiger. No, you've not heard the sage yet. Once the tiger was freed, he said to the woodcutter, I've been in this cage for over 3 days and I'm very hungry. Now I'm going to kill and eat you. That is not fair, said the woodcutter. I have freed you from the cage. Is this the way you repay me for helping you? This is a jungle, and the laws of the jungle apply here, said the tiger. I must kill you and eat you. Let's go and ask the sage, who lives close by, and whatever he says shall be the final and binding word, said the woodcutter. The tiger agreed to this, and they started walking down the jungle path. They came across the sage's hut. They saw the holy man deep in meditation. They approached him with their problem. The holy man listened to them carefully and said, It's hard for me to understand the problem until I see the real position. Let's return to the place where the cage is, and you will then explain your positions there. The three returned to the place where the empty cage lay. No, said the wise sage. Where was the tiger and where were you? I want you to both return to your original positions. The tiger returned to the cage. The moment he entered, the wise sage shut the door of the cage. You are a wild animal, and you don't understand human nature. Instead of repaying the woodcutter for his kindness, you wanted to kill him. It's better that you stay in the cage and await your fate. The woodcutter thanked the sage greatly for saving his life from the evil tiger. All right, so let's evaluate this one. Who's doing the storytelling? Well, it's me, the teacher, right? You could argue that your role was maybe a little bit passive, but at least I could see you were involved by the actions you were doing. Learning styles?
Kinesthetic.
Yes, and also auditory, right? Because there's a lot of listening involved. You've got to listen and do the actions. Could you adapt the activity and use a different story?
Yes.
So, almost certainly, yeah. You've got to find words that regularly appear in the story and ones that represent different characters. What age group do you think it's suitable for?
For all age, I think.
Yeah, but I think it would work well with younger age groups, wouldn't it? Because it doesn't require too much. Yeah, it's mostly listening and doing actions, which is perfect for the little ones. Yeah.
Well, for me, it was funny. So.
Yeah, great. So that's the end of today's session. We've done what we needed to do with a bit of storytelling practice. So maybe you could think of doing storytelling as a basis of maybe for your first teaching practice, which is going to be speaking or writing. Yeah. So, any doubts before queries or doubts before we finish tonight? No, we've covered a lot tonight, so I will save. I've got the video recorded, particularly the writing and the speaking are important, and the grammar is going to be important as well.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. And I think, I'm not sure if you've got a session on Monday because it's, I guess you have though, haven't you? Because it's, despite it being Revolution Day.
Yes.
I think you still have a session with Tanya. Let's just check, just have a look at the timetable. It says. Monday the 20th. It doesn't say exactly what's happening. Oh, well, there's a tutor demo, so that will be a demonstration of a lesson, and there'll be some guided lesson planning. So I assume it's Tanya, but we'll check for you. Okay. Okie dokie. I think we can finish that. Let's say good night and have a good Revolution Day holiday.
Thank you, Andrew. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.